We have a mixed bag week full of planetary transits. We have an interesting week ahead of us. The alignments are mostly complex, and we have a sign change going on along with the new moon. We start Pisces season at the end of the week, and we have a new moon in Pisces occurring around that time. And of course, there will be a separate podcast and video up for the new moon in Pisces. And with the vibes on the graph, they absolutely reflect how wild this week is in terms of transit. Throughout the week, solitude and emotional sensitivity will peak and valley. So we'll be feeling these energies throughout the next 7 days, and it could create moments where you're needing time to yourself, could create moments where you feel more sensitive than normal, where you feel more triggered than normal, and overall just an edgy vibe where you're needing space and time to be with your thoughts. This is also intersecting mental energy, the solitude, and the emotional sensitivity throughout the week. This happens on the 13th all the way up until the 14th, and then again on the 17th all the way up to the 18th. So having that intersecting one another, you're definitely going to need moments where you're in your head. This also is going to intersect psychic energy on the 13th to the 14th and the 17th all the way up until about the 18th. So some of this energy in itself could be all about needing space to yourself because you're picking up on other people's energies. And for people who are intuitive and sensitive to energy, sometimes it's an okay thing when you're picking up on other people, and then there are other times where it feels very uncomfortable because maybe you're picking up on other people's anxieties, or you're reading the room and it just doesn't feel right, the vibes don't feel right, so you're needing a little bit of time to ground your energy. But even with all of that, there's a steady stream of ambitious energy, and of course we get that a lot of the times when there are harder alignments. Complex alignments create action. It causes us to get shit done. It causes us to take care of business and work on the things that might have been on the back burner when we felt more comfortable. So this could be a week where you really are getting things done that needed to be put back in check. And romantic energy is one of the highest energies on the graph. It starts peaking up on the 15th. We start off with this romantic energy on the 13th, and it lasts all the way up until about the 17th, but the highest amount is occurring around the 15th, 14th, and 15th. And of course, it is intersecting all those harder energies, but at the same time, we have some Venus alignments that may give us opportunities to be more romantic than normal. Since Venus is going to conjunct Neptune, which brings a dreamy tone in. Also, Venus is going to sextile Pluto, which also brings in a deepness and profoundness within romance. So this should bring a fun tone to the air. So yeah, this is a fascinating week for sure. Let's look at the next bunch of days and see what we can expect. As a reminder, don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps this channel grow. And if you'd like to support the work of this channel, you could do so by buying me a fresh cup of coffee. There's a link in the description box below. On the 15th, Mars is making a sesquiquadrate with Pluto. Mars and Pluto have had a few alignments over the last bunch of months since the Mars retrograde started, and we had them in the form of a quincunx and the sesquiquadrate. The sesquiquadrate happened on September 9th while Mars was in shadow. Then we had a quincunx situation going on in October where Mars and Pluto were locked in that quincunx for a while since Mars slowed down and wasn't moving, and Pluto also went direct in October. So we had a lot of stuff going on with these planets in terms of creating discord. But now that Mars is in the post-shadow, Mars is moving along now finally, and Pluto's also making its moves. So this will help in terms of not being locked into these alignments as long as we were. Sure, it'll last about a few days or so, maybe about a good 5 days where we're feeling this, but at the same time, that's better than feeling it for almost a month like we did in October, overlapping into November. But what this alignment does is it creates a sense of edginess. You have the two edgelords of the solar system coming together like this in a hard transit. It's going to create conflict in a lot of ways. And sometimes that conflict is brutal. Sometimes it's not just, having a dispute with someone. Sometimes it gets a little bit belligerent. Or you deal with people who are trying to control the situation and trying to control the narrative. Because this is Mars and Gemini mixed in with this could be a situation where someone is speaking very recklessly, in a manner that's domineering, in a manner that's belligerent, and even in some cases inflammatory. And because this is a post-shadow retrograde alignment, it could bring up disputive situations from September 9th, going all the way through October, because again, when we're dealing with this, we're also dealing with the quincunx stuff that happened with Mars and Pluto as well. But this could be a time of speaking up, standing up for yourself, especially if there's been some sort of conflict you've been dealing with others. And if this isn't dealing with others, this could be about transforming certain situations in terms of your behavior, maybe possibly working on anger management, or also unearthing uncomfortable things. And this is because Pluto has a way of dredging up things that was buried beneath the surface. So whether that might be coping mechanisms, behavior, or something uncomfortable, with Mars being in Gemini, this could have a lot to do with uncomfortable gossip, or finally getting the answer to something that you were inquisitive about. In a lot of ways, this could work in that fashion. Hopefully, the vibes of Venus and Neptune coming together in a conjunction on that same day softens the air, because that alignment with Mars and Pluto is difficult in itself. So we can use a little bit of sweetness in the air, and Venus and Neptune in a conjunction brings that energy about. This energy is wonderful to lean into if you're looking for feel-good vibes, if you're looking for a way to recover from harshness, and if you're looking for a way to heal and feel meditative. This alignment has you covered. This alignment is great for exploring when it comes down to spirituality, receiving Reiki, getting a tarot reading, going to crystal shops. So if you're looking to come down from some of that harsh energy from the Mars-Pluto alignment, this could help you self-soothe in a lot of ways through spirituality and those things. This is the perfect energy for enjoying music and going to concerts. So, I mean, it being a Wednesday, cool happenings going on where you can enjoy live music, whether that's at a concert hall or one of your local bars. This will be the perfect energy to feel good and just let loose. Channel all that active energy for the day healthily. Also, this is amazing for romance. This is amazing for romance in the sense where if you're looking for something dreamy, romantic-wise, this is perfect. If you're looking for a connection with someone that feels ethereal, that feels like a spiritual connection, this could be the perfect day of meeting someone like that if you're single. If you're in a relationship, this could be perfect for just connecting with your partner on a deeper level, on a spiritual level, or even telepathically. But this revs up the need to be swept away in romance, so this could be a time to lose yourself in love, but in a healthy way. Hopefully we're feeling those vibes by Thursday, because the sun is going to make a conjunction with Saturn on the 16th, and that alignment in itself can be heavy. This alignment can be two sides of the coin, in the sense where if you put the hard work in, then Saturn rewards you. If the hard work and effort wasn't put in, then this could be a very sobering moment dealing with this energy. One of the reasons why this can feel super heavy is because we have to get real with our ego issues when it comes down to the sun and Saturn. So this energy could be about facing facts that it's time to be more responsible and grow up and not let our ego get in the way of what's important. This could also take the wind out of our sails if we've been puffed up on an unrealistic sense of self that wasn't sustainable. So when this alignment comes through, it could really feel demotivating. It could feel super deflating in terms of our confidence and how we felt about ourselves. In other ways, it can be stressful when we're looking at all the responsibilities we have ahead of us. This doesn't have to necessarily be because, you weren't doing the work, but it could be one of those sobering moments where we focus on all of our obligations, and sometimes that could feel overwhelming with an alignment like this, because it can make us very aware of what we need to do and what we need to take care of. So even if we felt like we were busting our hump, we can still feel pessimistic about all the responsibilities ahead of us. This doesn't mean that it's going to be all gloomy, because again, with Saturn, it does reward hard work. So at some point, that hard work pays off. For some people, this alignment may show up in a way where that hard work is starting to pay off. You're starting to see that things are working out. You're starting to see that all of the efforts are working in your favor. So for those who have been putting in the hard work and effort to make sure that their lives are stable, something good is going to come as a result of this. For those who are reaping the rewards right now, then this is going to be an alignment where you're definitely going to feel as though you're getting the recognition you deserve. And for those where you're at the starting point of working on things, it will be a starting point to get yourself on the right track, so that way you can have success in your life. Friday brings in an interesting day for confidence and communication, with the sun making a semisquare to Chiron and Mercury making a semisquare to Neptune. So this is going to be a day where things might get misinterpreted. This may be a day where you're feeling like you can't express yourself the way you're wanting to with the sun and Chiron, and also Mercury and Neptune, because they kind of overlap in terms of not being able to express yourself and feeling like you're coming off misunderstood or easily misunderstanding what someone else is saying. With the sun and Chiron, do your best not to beat yourself up, because this is one of those alignments that has us picking at things that aren't necessarily there, or personality things that we believe are flaws about ourselves, but they're really not flaws. With all of these energies that we have going on throughout this week, this is the reason why solitude and emotional sensitivity were very much present on the graph, because alignments like this, they make you want to stay to yourself, and they can make you feel easily triggered. And sometimes you could be having a regular day, and then you see something on the internet, you see something on social media, or someone says something and they don't mean anything by it, or there's no harm meant, by certain things, and we end up taking it more personally than we need to, and it just causes us to spiral. So this energy has a tendency to do that a bit. And coming back to that miscommunication, Mercury being in that semisquare with Neptune, this is one of those alignments where something is just said wrong or conveyed wrong. And again, we're dealing with Mercury, so A lot of the times we deal with the internet with Mercury, social media, social communication. And so that in itself could also be problematic. Maybe you're seeing something online that just, again, gets misinterpreted and it makes you feel a way. So with all this, it makes the 17th a very uncomfortable day, especially with the lapsed judgment that comes with Mercury making that semi-square to Neptune. So our judgment is off. We're not seeing things correctly. So when that happens, try to take a step back, try to evaluate things as logically as possible. And if you're not able to, give yourself a moment and come back to things when you feel clear-minded and you feel as though you're more receptive to other people. At least by the time we get to Saturday and Sunday, we only have one alignment that's harsh. It can be fun, but it can be harsh. Mars is going to make a semi-sextile to Uranus, and the last times we had these alignments was the 26th of September and December 8th. So this is going to bring up Mars-Uranus themes from those times during the retrograde. This has a lot to do with being impulsive and having the urge to just take crazy risks. So if you are having issues with impulse control, this alignment is going to bring those things up. Granted, it is the post-shadow, so it is easier to deal with things like that. At the same time, this alignment can bring in a high octane sort of feel, so we might feel hyper on that day. There could be a pins and needly feeling on that day as well. And what this does is it causes us to feel anxious at times, but it also causes us to crave adventure, want to get out, want to explore, want to do wild and crazy things, and just overall do something fun that's outside of our norm. Also, we have to be aware of overspending with this alignment too, because it can give us the urge to impulse buy. But on the even lower end of this, it can cause us to be a bit belligerent. This is a bar fight sort of energy. This could be a very gully energy. This could be a feeling like you have something to prove and doing something so shocking and risky that it could be dangerous. So overall, be careful with this alignment. Go slow. Don't rush into anything. Also, it does promote clumsiness, so that's something else we want to be aware of when it comes down to this. If anything, channel this energy through activities that are going to burn off a lot of energy, like exercise or just cleaning your house, or again, doing something outside of your norm, going somewhere different than your usual hangout spot, because that's the best way to channel this energy effectively. And it could be hard to not feel active and hyper because we have another alignment that's harmonious and actually very constructive with Mercury making a sextile to Jupiter, though it can feel revved up by the stuff that's going on with Mars on that day. This brings in a need to be social and have lively conversations, so we're going to have the need to really interact, go out, do something fun, or even have get-togethers at our house. This is definitely throwing party vibes with the Mars stuff and also this Mercury stuff that's occurring. The Mercury-Jupiter stuff puts us in an upbeat mood, so being around other people is going to be called for at this point. Also, this could be a day for mental sharpness, where you're having big ideas pop up in your head, where you're able to get past mental ruts. So it could feel like a day where you're feeling mentally inspired too. But overall, this is great for connecting with others, reconnecting with friends, especially if you haven't made the time to hang out with people. So use this energy to stimulate your mind and need for adventure. On top of that, the sun enters Pisces on that day. Happy birthday, Pisces! It's your turn to shine ethereally. As we leave the cerebral, cool, and detached vibes of Aquarius, we enter a more spiritual tone that's compassionate and extrasensory. So this really shifts the tone from what we've had in Aquarius energy, and we will soon have a ton of Pisces energy, especially when Mercury goes into Pisces on the 2nd of March and Saturn goes into Pisces on the 7th. And Saturn will be in Pisces for a while, but we will get there once we get there. But get ready for big Pisces energy and big Piscean times. But with the sun going here, our egos are going to get a considerable boost from being aligned with our higher vibrations and our spiritual side. With the sun transiting in this sign, our ego is less grandiose and more about being compassionate, more about being empathetic, and being more concerned with others. So we can feel more receptive to the needs of others rather than being concerned with ourselves. Pisces energy is about melding with everything and everyone, so the need to feel unified with others is very strong in this energy. Piscean energy is limitless, and because we have less boundaries within this energy, we can be open to other things, and other things being the unseen. Piscean energy deals with knowledge from other realms, the spiritual world, our unconscious mind, otherworldly things, and being receptive psychically. So this could be a period where you're seeing that you're leaning into these things more than typical. And because of that, we can have more faith in what we feel rather than going for the facts, rather than going for the things that we can see with our eyes, rather than going for the details of things. We feel more inclined to follow our gut instincts, and so if we're getting an intuitive hit, we're more apt to listen to that more so than just trying to explain it away with logic. So the cool thing about this, we're we're able to listen to our intuition and listen to the dreams that we're having during big Piscean times or just Pisces season in general, people tend to have more intuitive dreams, more prophetic dreams. This could also be a time where you're more in tune to your psychic abilities or using tarot or any other type of predictive modality. And this could also have your mind open to astrology because you do need to use intuition. You need to use logic and intuition to do astrology, but this could really open you up intuition-wise when it comes down to that practice. And because we're so receptive under this energy, this could be a time where you're able to tap into a lot of your creative talents, maybe latent talents that you didn't know that you had. With Pisces energy, the creativity is pulled from higher sources and channeled into something beautiful. So with this could be a time of creating something beautiful when it comes to art, photography, writing, poetry, music, and even acting, because Pisces and Neptune govern that. So if you're into acting, theater, or anything to do with film, this could be a time where you're really flourishing and feeling inspired to do those things. With this energy comes a sense of humility as well. The sun transiting Pisces helps with mellowing out our ego, so there could be a sense of unpretentiousness that comes from this energy, which is absolutely refreshing. And so we could be running into people who are more humble than we normally are used to, or just a bit modest about who they are and their accomplishments, or just the way they communicate and speak to others. Also, this brings about a charitable nature in others as well. Again, this goes back to the helpfulness of Pisces. So this could be a time of just being very giving to others who are in need, or just paying it forward without expecting anything in return. That is also another lovely thing about Pisces energy. It's all about giving to others without expecting anything from it. And sometimes that translates into paying it forward. Someone did nice things for me, so let me return the favor and do something nice for you. So that could be a big feature in this energy. And of course, there's always a lower vibration, as there is anytime a planet changes signs. And with this, it's the typical stuff that you hear in terms of the Piscean energy where it can get difficult. That lack of boundaries can be problematic within this energy. Sometimes you need to be limitless and boundless and open to things, but then there are times where you need to set proper parameters, and so we have to be aware of that. There's also an unrealistic tone that can come with this. There's also a gullible tone. There's also an issue that comes with poor judgment that we have to be aware of when it comes down to this energy. So when you're feeling foggy about things, because this does bring in a sense of fogginess, make sure you're taking a step back and waiting for the right moment before you proceed with anything, because being taken advantage of becomes more pronounced in Pisces energy. So that's something we also want to be aware of. We want to be aware of scams and things like that, because it does get enunciated during Piscean times. And because we're about to have a lot of Piscean energy and coupled with this, sometimes the unseen can be scary, and so it can inflate things like hypochondria or fears of the invisible, the things that are just not there. So it's something to be aware of within this energy. But other than that, Pisces season is lovely. Let's soak it up for all its easygoing and ethereal vibes. And on the 19th, Venus is making a sextile with Pluto, so that is going to deepen the energy that we have going on. Venus will soon be leaving Pisces, but right before it does, it makes this beautiful sextile with Pluto that could help us seek profoundness in our relationships. So romantically, this is one of those things that helps us look for something with more substance if you're single. If you're in a relationship, it could promote a day where you guys are deepening your connection with one another and being more passionate and having intimacy that's off the charts. Overall, it helps us seek out substance in our relationships and focus our time on those that we have a real connection with. Anyway, I hope you all have the best week ever. Later, and see you in the next episode.